Hello, in this screencast I'm going to be demonstrating how to build the infrastructure that is described in this paper, Application Platforms on AWS. So I'm assuming that you've already read through this article and that you're familiar with the concepts and some of the theories, so I won't go into too much detail there. And I'm also assuming that you've taken a look at the repositories here, Amazon Ship and Amazon Base. These are the code bases that will help us build the architecture that is defined in this paper. And you can download them and point them at your AWS account and use them. They're fairly abstracted. So let's take a look at how we can use them. So the first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to build a base image using Amazon Base. Then I'm going to show you a demo Node.js application. This is the app that we're going to be deploying to our platform. We'll create a release of that app, and then we will set up the infrastructure in our AWS account to run the application. And then finally, we'll just kind of interact with the app and make a deploy and see how it changes through the browser. So let's get started with our base image. So you can see here that I'm in the Amazon Base code base. So you can just download this, export your AWS credentials in your environment, and you can run the command build AMI. Now the command takes an argument for kind of a post image setup. And so in the frameworks directory, there's a file called node. And so this will install the basic, it will install Node.js, its dependencies, and npm, etc. So we'll go ahead and get started with this. Now, this is fairly hands-off. You can just run the command, and it will take a few minutes to build your image, spawning a new instance and installing the software and then cutting the image. It just takes a little bit of time, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. So we'll go ahead and just let this bake, and we'll come back to it in a few seconds. Okay, great. Now that we have our AMI built, you can see that the ID of the AMI is the output down here. So let's just quickly take a look in our AWS console for AMIs. Great, you can see the one we just created is there. Now let's switch over and take a look at our Node.js application. So you can see here it's just a very simple application. We're making use of the proc file, the Heroku concept here to define what processes we want to run on our application. The infrastructure will read that and manage those processes using Upstart. So you can see the index here is just your regular hello world. We listen on a Nginx socket, so our instance comes with Nginx and requests will go through that. And that Nginx is all configurable, and you can find out more information there in the Amazon Base /target directory, target machine directory. All right, so this is our example application, and it's in a Git repository. So if we take a look at the Git tags, we'll just delete them all here for now. Okay, so we've got fresh repo here. Now, if we come back over to our Amazon Ship code base, we'll just modify the environment here. We'll take the AMI ID from Amazon Base that was built, and we'll just export that as an AMI config variable, again with our AWS credentials. We'll export those into our environment. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut a release. And so releases are stored in an S3 bucket, so you can see here that I have an S3 bucket that is just kind of specified by the company name here. It's empty right now, so we'll go ahead and cut a release. So bundle exec bin release. The name of the application, we'll call this one X. The environment, production, and then we give it the directory of the source code. So Amazon Node example is the app that I showed you. So we'll cut that release now. Great, you can see that it also created an empty config file for us, and we're at release R1. So if we go back over to our app here and look at the Git tags, you can see that it made a tag for us called R1. And then if we go over to our S3 bucket, we now have the application X there. We have its production environment. You can see that we have an env file, which serves as our global application environment variables. And then we see R1 here, and R1 has a copy of that env. So each release kind of versions its environment variables, and then we have a tarball of our source code. Also, what we do is whenever we cut a new release, we keep a pointer to the latest, and we call that current. So current has source and env. This way, when new machines come online, they can just grab the current release of an application. So now that we have a release set up, we can start to build our AWS infrastructure. So you will see here that I don't have any instances online right now. Well, we have the one instance that was building our AMI, but it's since been terminated. And we have just the default security group here, nothing special. We're going to have to create that, and the Amazon Ship utility will take care of that for us. Again, no load balancers or key pairs or anything like that. This assumes that we just have a blank AWS account. So we'll go ahead and run our setup command here. So bundle exec bin setup x production. Spelled that right, okay. Creating all of our dependencies here. Okay, so you'll see here, this happens from time to time, but sometimes the data takes a little while to propagate on the Amazon backend, and so that's not a problem. If there's ever an error, all these scripts are idempotent, so you can run them again safely and know that you're not going to mess up anything. So we'll run this one more time here. And that time it worked. Okay, so it's creating our launch config, creating our load balancer, our auto scaling group. So if we go here back to load balancers, you can see that we now have a load balancer for our application X, and it's for the production environment. And it's set up with health checks and the correct forwarding ports. We also have a key pair now, and that is just located in the directory here. You see amazon.pim. And we have a security group set up for this instance, Amazon. And then we also have a IAM role for the instance called Amazon, and this basically will give us a read access to S3. So this is how our instances can download the releases from our release S3 bucket. And then if we pop over here to instances, we'll see that we should have an instance coming online, and it's already running. So we should be able to pop over there, take a look at this guy on port 8000. Great, and we see hello world. So our instance is now running our Node.js application, and very soon we'll see that the instance has registered itself with the load balancer. And we'll come over here and take a look at the load balancer. So right now our instance registration is still in progress. Let me just reload this. Okay, and you can see now that our load balancer has picked up that instance, and it should be good to go here. So we'll again test the application, but this time with the load balancer's DNS name. Great, hello world. Cool, so you can see now that we have a completely production-ready infrastructure that's running our code. We can scale it out using our auto-scaling group. It's all ready to rock and roll. So let's take a look at the one last thing I want to show you, and that is how we do a deploy. So we'll just hop over here to our Node application, and we'll just make a little change here. I'll just remove this comma, whatever. Make a commit, remove, comma. Okay, and then I'm going to come back over here to Amazon Ship, and I'm going to run the release command. And release x production, and then give it the path of that Node app. Okay, so you see here now that it cut release R2. So if we hop back over to here to our S3 bucket and we refresh it, you'll see that we now have release 2. So now we can deploy this release. So bundle exec bin deploy x production. And now there's an optional third argument here to the deploy command. If you leave it blank, it'll deploy current, which our last release updated current. But for the sake of this demonstration, I'll show you that you can just pass in a release number as well. So we'll say release R2. Now, this gives you the ability to really easily roll back between deploys. If I deploy R2 and it's broken, I can really easily switch back to R1. And I'll show you that here in a second. But we'll run this deploy command. And it's verbose by default. All it's doing, though, is it's SSHing into the instances that are a part of a group, which is identified by X in production, and it's just running the local deploy command on that instance. So you can see our deploy is out. So if we hop back over here, there's no comma. So that was really, really fast. And again, if I want to roll that back, I just deploy R1. Done. And there's our comma. So that's the basic gist of things. And I would love, for anybody watching to give us a try and use it for ourselves. We're going to be experimenting with this very heavily at Koala, and so we'll be sure to keep people posted on how this evolves and how this works for us. So I appreciate your time and have a wonderful day.